Okay.
The bubble machine.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard, and welcome to ThinkTech Hawaii. I am the Managing Director of Kumukuhua Theatre, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Managing Director of Honolulu Theatre for Youth, Becky Dunning.
Hi, Donna. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of the show today.
Gosh, thank you so much for coming in. I'm really excited to talk with Becky today about the work that HTY does in our community and what theater brings to our community currently and where we might be able to go, where we are going, where we are headed right
we're
now.
headed in the future.
We're on a fabulous trajectory. So, first of all, would you tell us a little bit about your path in theater? When did it begin?
I've always loved theater. I grew up in Hawaii and attended the University of Hawaii. When I graduated, I decided I wanted to see the world. So I spent about 10 years in the travel industry. And then theater beckoned, and I started working at Manoa Valley Theater. I was their administrative director for 10 years. I also worked on shows. I was a stage manager. I've run lights. I've run sound. And so I did that for a while, and then decided that I'd move into television. So I was with PBS Hawaii for another 10 years. I was their vice president of development and honed my skills in on-air fundraising. And then decided I'd done that for long enough, and I switched gears a little bit and spent a couple years with Blue Planet Foundation, helping them both in administration and also in development. And then the job opened up at Honolulu Theatre for Youth, and I decided it was time to come back to what I really love, and I'm now managing director, part of the three-person management team at Honolulu Theatre for Youth.
And the other two?
Other two are Eric Johnson, who is the artistic director, and Dan Kellen, who is the director of education.
And had you had any experience with keiki theater prior to HTY?
No, I hadn't. And that was interesting for me, but it's probably the most rewarding part of my job now is being able to introduce children to theater and just watch if I'm having a bad day, I'll go to one of our school shows, and to be surrounded by all of that wonderful energy, 300 children sitting in Tenny Theater experiencing drama and life. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is. You know, I come over to and watch the kids, and it just lifts up your whole day. It's a really nice way to start. So tell us a little bit about how the operation works. You have the three-pronged management team, and
we basically, HTY has been around. We're going to start our 59th season next year. We were incorporated in the territory of Hawaii.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we've been around a long time. And we have two main areas of focus. One is the production side. We produce 7 shows every year. And 4 of those shows tour to the neighbor islands, so we're a statewide organization. And then the education side, we actually go into the classrooms, and we are the largest provider of artists in the schools, teaching artists in the state. We, again, go statewide, and we'll go in because of budget problems statewide with the DOE. A lot of the schools don't have dedicated staff to drama education or arts education for that matter. So the schools can apply for a teaching artist, and we'll go in and work with the kids during a residency and work with the teachers and show them how they can incorporate some drama skills and techniques into regular classroom learning.
That is so awesome that you're able to help the schools that way. And how are you funded?
We're funded primarily, well, from 3 sources again. We have earned income. We do charge for tickets. The kids that come to the theater pay for tickets. And we have public shows on Saturdays, and a season ticket is available. And then there's a lot of our funding comes from grants, less and less from government grants now, but private foundation grants, and then individual contributions. Also, we have a very devoted board, and we do special events every year. So we raise some funds that way. And we've developed a new program over the last couple years. Because HTY has such a great distribution system, we serve over 90,000 children and families every year. So we form partnerships with either government agencies or other nonprofits, and at the end of our shows, we do what we call a playlet, so that if, for instance, right now we're doing Charlotte's Web, and Charlotte's Web takes place on a farm. So our partners for Charlotte's Web are the Department of Health and the Department of Agriculture, and they provide us with some funding. And so at the end of Charlotte's Web, we have a little 3-minute segment that talks about healthy eating and also the importance of eating local and what it means to be a farmer. So we help them get their message out, and they provide us with some important funding for our productions.
And are you the one setting up those partnerships?
Eric and I work together on that. Yeah. We try and find appropriate partners to go with each show, and we've talked about everything from healthy eating to bullying. When we did Call It Courage, we worked with Mental Health America and HMSA to get a message out about finding your own courage and how to respond to bullying.
That's really cool. Your background in development is so wonderful to have you involved back in the theater community, because I personally wish none of us ever had to charge for our seats. I wish that anybody who wants to be involved in theater can come in and be involved in theater. And you really are, in effect, working to make that happen by bringing this to. How many of the islands are you going to with the shows?
We go to all 6 major islands. Yeah. We go everywhere from the Big Island. We play in Honoka'a, we play in Hilo, Kona, Waimea. On Maui, we go all the way to Hana.
Cool.
And we play on Molokai and Lanai, and then also on Kauai. So we try and get everywhere.
That's wonderful. And the work, now, I hope I didn't cut you off earlier. You're talking about Dan's work in the schools, working with the teachers, and also developing the artists in the schools.
And we do professional development work. So we teach the teachers how to teach drama and the arts in the schools.
That's fabulous. You know, one of the major thrusts of the work that we do at Kumukuhua Theatre is making sure that we are developing playwrights all the time to tell our stories.
Right.
Because theater is a native Hawaiian art form. Storytelling is, but not theater. But my theory is that theater is so integral to sharing experiences throughout the rest of the world, that the more we can do to share these stories in palatable ways around the world, the more it brings to Hawaii altogether. So I applaud the work that you're all doing there. Let's talk about your upcoming season at HTY.
Okay. We'll be starting our 59th season in August, and we just produced our season brochure, and season tickets are available. It's called Tales of Transformation, and the thrust behind it is that all 7 of the shows, there is some kind of transformation. Whether it's, we're starting our season with Korean Cinderella, and it's a Korean version of the Cinderella story, but you've got the magic of a fairy tale transformation there. Another show that's in the season is Icarus Fights the Minotaur, and there's all kinds of magical transformation in that. And then we're doing a show called Nothing is the Same, which is about 4 children growing up in Hawaii who experienced the bombing at Pearl Harbor, and how that outside event transforms their lives. So there's all kinds of different transformations going on.
Oh, cool.
And our final show of the season is called Grinds, and it's going to be a company-created piece about food and how Hawaii is, that's one of the central focuses of living in the islands is food, and how food has shaped us and how we shape food. So that's another exciting piece.
Wonderful.
And we've got a piece that we're putting together with the education staff at Bishop Museum, which is about Lono and all of the transformation stories that are a part of his mythology.
Oh. And I would love to, talking about the season, let's talk a little bit about the previous season that you had.
Okay.
Because you're just finishing up now.
Yes, Charlotte's Web is the final show of this season. We started out with 5 Chinese Brothers, which was a piece that was written by Alvin Chan, who is a company member, and we incorporated a lot of elements of Chinese opera into the show. So it was an introduction, a story that most children are familiar with, but it was an introduction to some of the techniques of Chinese opera. And because Eric and the acting company are risk takers, we actually had 4 of the Chinese brothers in the show were selected from the audience. So
risk takers, I like that. Yeah,
each show was different, and it was very participatory. And the kids that were the brothers had their first introduction to being on stage, and it got the rest of the audience much more engaged because that was their fellow classmate was on stage. And
the day I saw that show, one of the little brothers was having a hard time and was on stage for maybe half of the time they're supposed to be. And I can't remember which member of the company it was, gently steered him off the stage and got him back, and he was about to, you know, and these are kids who volunteer to do it. They're not just yanked up out of the audience, but he got in a little bit over his head, and he was handled so gently and so gracefully. He was put back with an adult in the audience, and then another kid who was so happy to take his place got to come up. The artistry behind that is an artistry that you just don't get an opportunity to play with in regular adult theater. You guys, when you talk about taking risks, you mean it. So after
5 Chinese Brothers, we did Spooky. Jeff Gear, who is a local storyteller, told some not terribly spooky stories, but they were very interesting, and that was during the Halloween season. And then we did Christmas Talk Story, which is an HTY tradition, which is a collection of pieces that are all locally written. So that was for the holiday season. And then this past season has been a collection of classics. And so we brought back Raps Hawaii, which is a piece that was all material written by Replinger, who was an HTY actor. He was with the company for several seasons.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it was directed by
your Harry Wong, yes. So there's lots of intertwining relationships in theater in Hawaii, as you know. And then after Raps, we did Call It Courage, which had been touring the neighbor islands in the fall, but played in Honolulu in March, and that is a show based on a Newbery Award-winning book by Armstrong Sperry, and it's about a young man growing up in Polynesia. And it was a really exciting show for us. We tried something totally new. We were trying to figure out a way to tell a story that has one character. There's one person on stage, and he goes to a variety of different places and interacts with different animals and different things. And so I'm not sure if it was Eric or someone else in the company that had seen some YouTube videos of a woman working with a sand table. So they brought in an artist and played around with the concept. And so all of the scenery is projected from the sand table. So the two narrators stand at the table and they tell the story, and then they draw everything on the table and it's projected up on the screen, and the actor is behind the screen and interacting with all of this. It's amazing to watch.
So cool.
And then Musubi Man came back, our preschool show, and he toured to all the preschools throughout the state and also the libraries. The state library system is a great supporter of HTY, so we go statewide and do our preschool shows in the libraries. And then we're finishing up with Charlotte's Web.
Which is playing now?
Which is playing now through May 18th. We added a show. And we do 2 shows on weekday mornings. 300 kids come in on buses and see the shows on the weekday mornings. And then we have public shows on Saturday afternoons at 4:30 at Tenney Theatre on the grounds of St. Andrew's Cathedral.
Good, you got that in. Excellent.
Where are we?
So let's talk about a lot of your work over the past seasons and coming up is ensemble developed.
Yes.
And you know, a passion of mine is the work that is done within an ensemble and how you're not you're not bringing people in to join the ensemble for specific experience or projects, but you're bringing them because of who they are. And that most of that, the development work of the plays is handled by Eric and Dan, I'm assuming. Let's talk about the ensemble that you have in the office.
The ensemble in the office, we have a small staff. There's an accountant who handles all of the numbers. And then Jay Griffin is our school reservation person. You can imagine getting all of those kids in and out. She takes care of booking all of the schools and making sure that they get in and get out. We're very fortunate. We get a substantial grant from Target, which helps us pay for the cost of buses to bring the kids in. So she administers those funds so that Title I schools don't have to pay for the bus. They just pay the reduced admission price so that we can reach as many kids as we can. And then Stu Hirayama, who is in a Kumu show at the moment.
We're borrowing him in the evenings.
Handles the box office at the public shows, and then he's also physically at the box office at all of the school shows. Fei-Ann Chun is our grant writer. As I mentioned, we get a lot of support from foundations and some from government agencies. So making sure that all the applications get in on time, and all of the...
spent a lot of time in that world.
It's a very complicated world. And then we have house manager and that handles the volunteers. Carolyn Kishi is our outreach coordinator and helps us with special events. And that's about it on the administrative side.
And what are your primary responsibilities?
Making sure everything happens.
So you wear a lot of hats.
I wear a lot of hats. And I enjoy the fact that I wear a lot of hats. I think if I was wearing one hat, I'd get bored. But making sure that all of the pieces are working together and making sure that the board is informed of everything we do and handling all of the interaction between the board and the organization. Also keeping track of budgets and making sure that everybody gets paid, and also coordinating all of the, okay, this grant's going to pay for this piece, and so we're going to have to do this to make sure that there's enough funding for all of the different kinds of work we do. Also the marketing and all of that.
And that's a lot. And making sure that your seasons are announced in a timely fashion.
Yes.
So you have all of this history with theater, quite a bit of theater, as well as development on the island. Is there any significant changes or growths that you've seen in the time that you've spent in those arenas?
I think in terms of theater in Hawaii, I think we are, there's always cycles of ups and downs in terms of, just the economy and how that affects theater here. I think the theater audience in Hawaii is growing. I think that, having some of the mainland touring shows coming in is a good thing, because it's introducing more people to going to the theater. And also, if somebody goes and they'll see Lion King or Wicked or whatever and they have a good time, well, maybe they'll take a risk and go see a show at one of the community theaters, or come to see a show at HTY. Adults really enjoy our shows too.
Yeah. Not just watching the kids, watching the actual shows is very enjoyable. So I didn't realize, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but shows like Wicked weren't coming here before?
They have gone sort of in phases. We had a bunch of shows come in probably in the 90s, and then sort of dried up, and then Lion King came back. And so Hawaii, even though we are sort of in the middle between the mainland and the rest of the Pacific, it's very expensive to bring a touring show in. So
so it went through a dip with everything else.
Right. Okay. And in terms of development work, fundraising is always hard. And fundraising for the arts is always challenging. People think, okay, if I have money to donate, I'm going to give money to a social service organization because, the economy's bad. And people don't realize how important the arts are, and that by supporting the arts, they're supporting the community in a very, very important way. Yeah.
There's all sorts of statistics that not only are kids' test scores higher and they're more likely to go on to get a bachelor's degree, if not a master's degree, if they're involved in art as a child, but there's new statistics coming out all the time about how it enriches our lives as adults in less easily quantifiable ways. Have you read the book Gifts of the Muse?
No, I haven't.
It talks about, it really tries to, I think they do a good job of trying to quantify how the art enriches us and helps us be better decision makers, better community members, better at expressing ourselves, better at learning. There's a sort of social literacy that develops when you are involved, when you just see theater, and then that is multiplied by 10 when you get involved, even as a volunteer, as an usher.
Right.
Let's talk about that for just a minute. Do you have volunteer opportunities at the theater?
Yes, we do. We're always looking for ushers for our school shows because they happen during the daytime, and that's not the easiest time to find volunteers. As most of us work, we have daytime commitments. So if you are retired and want to add a little joy into your day, we're always looking for volunteers for ushering, also help with our special events, and
And if people are interested in that, how do they go about reaching you?
You can go to our website, www.htyweb.org, And there's all the information there. You can call us. We're at 839-9885. And we'd be happy to talk to you about volunteering.
That's wonderful. And it really is, I can say that having gone to see shows there, it runs like a clock. You don't have to worry that you're going to volunteer and be thrown into mayhem. It's run very nicely.
Our shows are an hour long, so it's not a huge commitment. They're designed for the attention span of children, and
which is why I love them so much.
Also, to fit within a class field trip time, we need to keep the shows. Yeah.
So let's talk about something pretty exciting that we have coming up in Honolulu, the NET conference, the Network of Ensemble Theaters. When I received my first notice about that conference coming here, it was from Eric, your artistic director. So you have been involved in it from the get-go.
Yes, sort of. Network of Ensemble Theaters is a national organization, and HTY is a member. And what they do is they hold microfests. This year, I believe there were 5. Hawaii is the 5th. And they go into a community and look at how art can interact with a community and how a community can benefit through art, and looking at social issues, but through an artist's perspective. And they've been in Detroit, Appalachia, New Orleans.
Yeah,
and
I don't know that is there a 4th on the mainland? I thought we were the 4th.
Oh, we're probably the 4th.
And those are all areas that experience some form of isolation. The Detroit area is really shrinking.
Right.
And it's shrinking away from its suburbs in kind of an interesting way. And the area in Appalachia where they were in Kentucky is they have major problems with floods, and they literally get cut off from the rest of the world. And then, speaking of floods, New Orleans has been definitely. And we are as isolated as you can get in the world, geographically at least. So, let's say the actual conference is happening in June.
June 14th. And they'll be bringing about 100 people, I believe, in from the mainland, and then also local participants are invited and encouraged. And the conference will be taking place. It's not your typical go to a hotel, sit in a ballroom, and have people talk at you kind of conference. It's going to be 2 days in Honolulu, and then they'll be going out to Mokuleia, to the camps out there, and spending 2 days out there. And even while you're in Honolulu, you're not going to a particular location and just sitting there. There'll be buses that will take people around to experience different things, presentations by some of the groups coming in from the mainland, as well as local groups. I know Kumu's a participant. HTY will be doing a performance of Call It Courage. They've got some really great people coming in, and Vicky Holt Takamine is going to be hosting part of it.
Our section is going to be in Kaka'ako, in one of the warehouse spaces there that's becoming an art space.
And so during the day, they'll have different tracks, and people can choose which track you go on. One day they're going to be looking at the issue of homelessness, another day looking at environment, another day, I believe, is food-centered. And so you'll be going out into the community and experiencing art, as well as looking at some of these social issues.
Yeah, and I think an expression of the social issues through art.
Yes.
Which is what gets me most excited about the fact that the conference is coming here, because that is, I think it's a way that we can come to knowledge and consensus that is something that art brings to our lives in
Right.
different ways. So you're presenting Call It Courage.
Yes.
For the conference, and you're also doing potentially doing a couple of public shows since you're bringing it back for the conference.
We hope to, yes. Every single public show of Call It Courage sold out, and we just were so, we were right up against the next show, so we couldn't extend it, but it was designed as a touring show, so we can bring it back out of its box and put it back up again, so we're excited about that.
That's, you know, when you were talking about that show, and you've said the word a couple other times while you're talking, risk.
Yes.
Yeah, which is what I think the NET conference is about also, and it gives us all, this gives us all an opportunity to, I like to say that theater is one of the safest places in the world to explore difficult topics. And one of the topics that we're talking about is the gentrification. One of the tracks is talking about the gentrification as well as the homelessness in the Kaka'ako area. And I think the way the conference is devised, there's a couple of days, the couple of days that are here in Honolulu are sort of learning and getting information, and then going to the North Shore to disseminate. And they are working very hard on bringing the business community in to be a part of those conversations, so that they are perhaps invited in a different way into that arena of risk-taking and development through the arts.
Right.
And you're adding a little something onto the conference with Michael Road.
Yes, he is coming from the mainland, I think it's the Sojourn Theater, and he'll be attending the Microfest, and then there's opportunity for local artists to work with Michael for 2 days after the conference, and I believe that's June 18th and 19th?
I wrote it down, 19th and 20th.
19th and 20th, thank you.
And Michael does really interesting work in, you know, a lot of your pieces are written by your, developed by the ensemble. At Kumukuhua, it's our mission to develop playwrights so that we are telling our stories. Michael's theater, it's my understanding, does this in sort of fast time. They go into a community and will work with them over a week or a matter of a handful of days, and gather their stories and experiences with their own people and create works that then are given audience performance. And do you have any idea if you're going that far with the work here? Has there been talk about performances of the workshops that you're doing?
I'm not sure.
Oh. I don't know. I didn't mean to throw you a question that neither of us know the answer to. I just thought maybe she knows.
No, sorry, I don't. I haven't been involved in the planning of that particular part of the project. So. But if you want more information, it's Network of Ensemble Theaters. There's information on their website. Local residents can either sign up for the whole conference, and there's a reduced fee for local residents, or you can attend different pieces, and that information is all on the website.
So, what are the plans for HTY moving forward within this landscape of theater in Hawaii?
There's lots of exciting things going on. We'll be celebrating our 60th year in 2014. And we haven't come up with the slate of plays for that yet, but being part of an organization that has that much history is exciting. It's a big responsibility. And we have recently signed an agreement with the Cathedral of St. Andrews, so we have a home for the foreseeable future.
Oh, that's good. That sounds good. Yes. We're going through that at Kumukuhua right now, so.
No, well, there were many years where HTY was on the road, even on Oahu, so we were performing in different spaces, and it's really great to have a home and to know that we'll be there for a while. And to be downtown is exciting, and it's a good central location to get the kids from all over the island. And we'll be working on new works. We talked about the fact, the ensemble idea and the ensemble created work. HTY is the only professional theater company in Hawaii. So this season we had 7 actors on staff. They're full-time salaried employees with benefits.
That's big in the world of theater.
That's big in the world of theater. And they're working on creating some exciting pieces for next season. One of the pieces that the ensemble will be working on together is Grinds, the story of food in Hawaii. And we hope to continue our partnership with the Department of Health, the Department of Agriculture, and some of the local farmers. We're going to have a special guest chef involved in the project.
That's cool.
So that's the culmination of next season, will be that piece. But we're starting to workshop that already and develop pieces for that project. So.
Oh, wow. So you were at Manoa Valley Theater for a while. At the time when you were there other theaters on Oahu? How is that? How's the landscape changed since you've been involved?
Manoa Valley Theater, I think, was founded in the late 60s, and Diamond Head Theater has been around for longer than HTY, I believe.
I think they're one of the oldest community theaters in the nation.
Yes.
Yeah. I almost said the world.
The world, but. Kumu was just in its fledgling stages at that point. And Army Community Theater was producing shows. So that was about it. And then over the past 20 years, has it been that long?
No.
No. There have been, new groups have come up. TAG and Joyce Maltby's program at HPU has grown a lot. Hawaii Repertory Theater has started up. I'm probably forgetting somebody and I'll get in trouble. Ohia, yes. Ohia does work for children in the schools as well as with adult performances of Lisa's work.
Paliku?
Oh, Paliku on Windward Side as well. So,
yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of theater going on. And it's a great way for people to become involved with the community, and it's a good way to experience different lives. There's so many different jobs, especially in community theater, where you can go in and be a part of a production, and as anyone who's ever been in a play knows, that really becomes a part of your life, and it's a good way to meet people, and it's a commitment to both to yourself and to a group, and the sense of accomplishment that you get in producing a play or being part of a production, I think is a wonderful thing, and
oh yeah, it's I don't know of anything else that can be compared to.
No,
really. Have you you've been on stage before? You've worked as an actor as well.
Yes, I discovered very early that my talents lay backstage or behind the scenes more than on stage.
Yeah. Well, and that everybody is working together,
yes.
Whether you're working properties or costumes or as an actor or director, they're all together in the work. And I think going to, whether you're involved in the production itself or you're going out to the production, it brings something to our lives that, you know, eradicates loneliness and all sorts of social problems that are easy to get into with everything that we can do at homes, in our homes, in front of a screen of some sort, solitary.
That's one of the things that I think HTY's biggest mission at this point is to introduce kids to live theater, and that you're sitting in a theater and you're experiencing something that's never going to happen exactly the same way again. And to get the kids away from whatever mechanical device or whatever screen they're watching, and to be watching another human being that's so totally different. And you'll if you go to a show that's full of kids and you're standing out front, they'll say, okay, what movie are we going to see? And it's, no, we're not going to see a movie. We're going to see a play. And, you know, what's the difference? But that connection that the audience makes with the people on stage is real. And teaching kids to communicate with each other without using an electronic device is something that we work on both in the classrooms and experiencing the show.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be a show that's going to come up in either of our theaters that is going to involve electronic devices somehow. Audience are going to participate via text or on a Facebook. It's going to happen. But I think integrating that into theater is sort of the next step.
Right.
What I am seeing in the theaters is interaction with audiences in new and exciting ways that we're evolving, and the immediacy of theater. I can remember being involved in a show, and a 5-person show, and one of the persons was unable to be there for a performance, and we didn't find out for certain until it was curtain time, and then the problem solving that has to happen, and the teamwork, that ensemble work that has to happen, and to some extent the audience, the audience is looking at their program and they see there's supposed to be another woman on the stage. Where is she? The audience is participating with you. It is a community event, whether you're problem solving or clicking along like clockwork. If you weren't involved in theater, where would you want to go with
oh my goodness.
your energies?
That one came out of the blue. That's a really great question.
I can tell you, I just had this conversation with someone over the weekend, and I thought about it, because I've always thought psychology is a natural realm for us.
Yes.
But then I decided, no, I would want to be a philosopher.
Oh.
Because I think that there is, to get inside the head as a director or an actor, to any time you're involved in theater, you are getting inside the heads of these other people and learning about how they tick, and hopefully learning from those experiences, you know?
Yes.
Which leads to a lot of philosophizing, at least on my part.
I see.
Perhaps not for everyone else. But you have so much experience in development and sort of a people engineering that I would think that sort of putting things together is always going to be a part of.
Right. No, I like to make things work. And you know, you were asking me about my experiences as an actor. I found that being a stage manager was one of the things that I was much better at than being an actor. And it was all about making sure that everything works and that all the pieces are in the right place and that everything's moving at the right time and the lights come on at the right time and the sound cue hits at the right moment.
Oh yeah, that's hard. I would never want to be a stage manager. That's hard.
But that's very satisfying, you know, when all of those pieces work. And I think part of what I do for HTY is making sure all of the pieces work. So working with an organization to try and make sure that everything's going the right way might be something that I'd look at doing.
Oh, yeah.
But
no wonder you're good at your job.
And one very important piece of our ensemble at HTY that I didn't mention, I talked about the actors, I talked about the administrative staff and the education staff that goes into the schools, but in addition to the actors, we have a wonderful team of designers that are involved in all of the productions. So for all of our shows, we have a team of resident designers, a costumer, Sandra Payne. David Gerke is our technical director, and he also designs lights and sets. And then Chesley Cannon stage manages for us. He's in Charlotte's Web. He's playing music in many other shows, and he's a great designer of puppets and props and has done set designs as well. So this whole team is involved, and so anytime we look at a piece, it's the designers, the director, and the ensemble all works together. So,
thank you for mentioning them. Yeah. That's for them to take, because those designers are all working with a director.
Yes.
The director, the playwright has the material. The director has their vision, and they're working with all of the designers. So not only are the designers looking at a script to meet the words that are actually there, but then also shape that within a director's vision and make it work literally on the bodies of the actors who are bringing it to life. Yeah, thanks for mentioning those designers.
Excuse me.
I think what we all bring to the landscape is sort of translated for me in this idea of literacy, that when a person is unable to read what they no problem, are you okay? One of the things that they miss out on is learning problem-solving skills from those characters that you're reading about in the books. And theater, and some people are visual people who are going to do better with words and books, and others are going to do better with experiential, something like a theater. So we're able to bring to people something that teaches them best practices, problem solving, relationship skills, and we offer people an opportunity to be involved with their community.
Yes.
As a community of theater goers, as well as a community of participants in theater. I really appreciate everything that HTY does and how high they have set the standard for the island, certainly, if not for ensemble theaters throughout the nation. So thank you very much for coming and talking with me, Becky. I really appreciate it, and we'll have you come back and talk another time, sometime soon. And until then, this is Donna Blanchard. Thank you very much for tuning in to ThinkTech Hawaii.
Thanks, Donna. Sorry about that.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you okay? Because I could see your eyes are watering. You're not getting past that. And we kind of ran out of things that I had on my list anyway. We got through everything just about 6 minutes under what he wanted to say.